Welcome to the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc on Monday, July 20th. This is a regular council session. Excuse me, and I'll do the land acknowledgement. The municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges it is located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful to generations of people who have taken care of this land, including Chippewa-the-Thames First Nation, the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and the United Nation of the Thames. Roll call. Councillor Derbyshire has indicated he will be 10 minutes late. Approve the agenda. I know Councillor Wilsey would like to make an amendment. Go ahead, Greg.
I'd like to move item 12.1.3, the settlement area boundary expansion, to immediately follow the two delegations on the same topic.
I'll second that motion. Is there any questions or concerns with that? Seeing none, all in favor of the amended agenda? Motion carries. We'll now move into closed session. The council will move into closed session at 5:02 p.m. for the purpose of the following. One item in accordance with council's procedure bylaw to approve the in-camera meeting minutes of July 6, 2026. One item pursuant to section 239(2)(b) of the Act as amended regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And one item pursuant to section 239(2)(c) of the Act as amended regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, affordable housing. One item pursuant to section 239(2)(k) of the Act as amended regarding a position plan procedure, criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried out on, by, or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Strategic Partnership Accord. Motion to go into closed session. Deputy Mayor. Second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? Carried. I do apologize. I skipped over declaration of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? See none? We are now going to closed session. Welcome back, everyone. Closed session adjourned at 5:27 p.m. And open session is set to resume at 6 p.m. Just to note that members took a recess between open and closed. Council met in closed session to consider matters it is permitted to do so under the Municipal Act and is listed on tonight's closed agenda. The following items were considered during the closed session. One item in accordance with Council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes of July 6, 2026. Those minutes were approved as written. One item pursuant to Section 239(2)B of the Act as amended regarding personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, service contract. Council received a staff report and direction was given to staff. One item pursuant to Section 239(2)C of the Act as amended regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, the Affordable Housing RFP. Council received a staff report and no direction was given to staff. One item pursuant to Section 239(2)K of the Act as amended regarding a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, a strategic partnership accord. Council received a verbal update and no direction was given to staff. And there was one motion, correct? The council approved the sole source purchase of interim IT director services from Diverse Systems Group, ESG, for the period of July 16th to November 30th, 2026 for a cost of $55,000 plus HST to be funded from the current budget, and also the direction given in closed session be approved. Someone to bring both those motions. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Canis. All in favor? Opposed of any? Motion's carried. Thank you. There are two delegations. First up is Pierre Chauvin. He'll be speaking to the Settlement Area Boundary Expansion Official Plan Project and the property located at 8524 Falconbridge Drive in Mount Bridges.
Mr. Mayor, could we speak to the changed agenda just so the people...
Oh, I do apologize. Yes, I'm sorry, Councillor. Just for everyone, because it was before everybody was here. Agenda item 12.1.3, which speaks to the settlement boundary. We're going to deal with that directly after the delegations. Thanks, Greg. Yep, go ahead, sir.
Sorry, I won't touch that anymore. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Pierre Chauvin. I'm with MHBC Planning. We're a planning consulting firm out of Kitchener. I'm here this evening with the owner of the subject lands here, Ms. Patty Pern of 8524 Falconbridge Drive. And I do have a brief slide deck, which I believe I've shared and council has in your package already. But if I'll just ask to go to the next slide. So our clients' lands are identified in the...
And just one thing, Pierre. 5 minutes for delegations. I'm pretty lenient. I'll give you a couple minutes out of the way, but just like tell people that up front.
I will stick to that 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
8524 Falconbridge Drive is identified in blue, sort of that blue triangular piece on this subject lands. It's just north of the Mount Bridges settlement area. It's about 4.4 hectares in area. It's relatively small. It's designated agricultural in your official plan. And it's immediately abutting the settlement boundary, and there's a plan, as you may know, there's a proposed plan of subdivision immediately across the road south of Falconbridge Drive. Next slide, please. And just so you can see with these slides, you can see I've identified the other proposed expansion areas in Hatch, just to put our clients' lands into context. I did attend the public meeting and delegated virtually the last time, and at that time, council directed staff to review adding our clients' lands. As you can see in the report this evening, staff continue to not recommend including our clients' lands, and we are here to ask council that you reconsider that recommendation. Next slide, please. The next number of slides I have kind of outline some of the rationale that's provided in the staff report. One of which says the size of the property is relatively small. and would limit development opportunities. I would argue this in the sense that the county or the official plan stipulates density targets of 31 to 75 units, and when you apply that to the 4 hectares of land, that equates to about 124 to 300 units. That's not a small parcel. There's substantial potential there with respect to these lands. These lands do have frontage both on Falcon Ridge and Adelaide Road, and they are very well positioned with respect to existing settlement and the plan services that will be extended to Falcon Ridge through the subdivision immediately to the south. That is 39T SC 22101. The second point staff make, next slide please, that the lands are located on prime agricultural lands. I would note these lands are not specialty crop. They're significantly undersized. 4 hectares is not a viable farm parcel. These lands have never been farmed over 20 years as far as I understand. They're currently being used for residential purposes, and there's 3 lots immediately abutting the property with frontage on Falcon Ridge. There is, I would suggest, there's very limited opportunity for any intensive agriculture on these lands, particularly given not only those residential lots, but the immediate adjacency of the existing settlement boundary. So I think any development south of Falcon Ridge will further limit that potential. And we fail to see how these lands differ to the other lands that are much larger in size and have the same prime agricultural designation. In fact, I would suggest that these lands probably come out on top in terms of that particular criteria. Next slide, please. Staff also the consultants seem to suggest that access would be constrained to these lands. As I mentioned, there's not only access, there's 2 points of access or frontages along Falcon Bridge, and Adelaide. The suggestion that there be some challenges with respect to getting access to Adelaide, I think that's speculative at best. I think that's something that will need to be vetted through a more site-specific development application. And if you actually drive down that road, even though it's at 80 kilometer an hour, there are quite long distances for sight lines. So I think there are opportunities along that stretch for potential accesses. But again, that should be something that's vetted through a more detailed analysis. Failing which, at the end of the day, I think there may be other opportunities to perhaps even look at Ruffin Road as an opportunity for second access. The consultants also suggest that this may be better considered to be consolidated with those lands west of Ruffin Road. I would suggest that could certainly be contemplated through the phasing and provision of accesses or services through our clients' lands. It doesn't necessarily mean that our clients' lands can only be considered when those lands are ready to go. That really just doesn't make sense in my mind. And so in conclusion, I guess last slide please. We believe that these lands can provide a significant amount of development, upwards of 300 units. There is adequate frontage on both Falcon Bridge and Adelaide Road. We're very well positioned with respect to the settlement area. It's a logical extension of the settlement area, and the services will be readily available in the fullness of time. They're not specialty crops. It is a very undersized agricultural parcel, and actually it's being used for residential purposes already. And it's for the reasons I stated, there's a very limited opportunity for any agricultural, viable agricultural activity on these lands. So I guess I would suggest in the fullness of time, I would ask that these lands be considered. I'd ask that council direct staff to consider these lands and include them as part of the settlement area for Mount Bridges. So I thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any members of council wish to ask questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Says next is Anthony Sleegers. Is that
John Burnett's going to speak on my behalf.
okay? There you go. So, same thing, John. If you 5 minutes, a couple of minutes.
You probably wouldn't use 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think
all of council's probably pretty familiar with the land map now and all the potential properties that have been on the chopping block for inclusion in the settlement area. I'm here to talk about the Sleeger's property, which is 75-1 Thomas Street. It's on the east end of town, straddling from Park House up the tract. There's 2 parcels there, and the last iteration of the official plan settlement boundary area, a portion of the property was included, approximately 16 hectares. We're here today to ask that all of the property be included because it will allow for more efficient development. It's easily serviceable in its current location, and it's also is not currently in specialty crops or anything of that nature. And I also I do believe that it makes the most sense in terms of connecting a whole bunch of roads that are stubbed off on the east end of town right now that will be connected to this development. I believe the current line that was drawn was addressing a potential setback issue along the Falconer property. There's a mine, or they're taking sand off the farm right now. I spoke with Sean about where they're at with removing the sand, and the west half of the farm, all the sand's been removed and returned to farmland, and they're moving to the eastern end of the property, and they won't be moving back down. So the setbacks are all being addressed within the farm property itself, and won't be affecting 751 Thomas Street. The second sort of squiggly line that I noticed about the middle of the property, which I think was addressing a natural heritage area. The natural heritage area that's shown in the aerial view is outdated compared to what lies on the ground right now. They did a bunch of cleanup in consultation with the Middlesex County Forestry Bylaw Officer, and they took out some old foundations to clean it up for this. And the property that is designated as natural heritage is going to form open space in the current developmental plan and part of a public park. So with taking all this into consideration, I think that I know there's a limit, whether it's a hard limit or not. I think that's up to you in terms of the number of hectares that will be included in the settlement area. I'd like to encourage the council to exceed those limits to include this, or if not, revisit what property should and shouldn't be included based on the information that I provided in a letter and in the letter of this council today, for today's meeting and the previous meeting. I do believe that given how close this is to the connections for sanitary connections to the current pollution control plant, and how a small connection will allow for a large amount of acres to be developed, I think that it is in the best interest of town, and ultimately these properties will be developed based on what the market will bear, right? Or the builder's not going to build houses unless they can sell them. So if this isn't, if lands aren't going to be readily developable, or they're not going to be able to sell the houses, they're not going to develop them. And I don't think that including this is going to put too much strain on the municipality in terms of servicing capacity, or taking away from other properties. So that's all I have today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Burnett? Okay, we will now move on, and we will now move item 12.13, the settlement area boundary expansion official plan project. We'll speak to that now before we get to the public meetings. There are 2 motions. One is that the official plan application be approved, and further that the bylaw be referred to the consideration of bylaws section. Just note to everybody, we're just bringing this forward so we can get the matter on the floor, and they're certainly open to amendments. Someone to bring the motion. Councillor Kennis. Someone to second. Councillor Pelkman. Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions. Just before we begin, I have one, and then I'm going to run the meeting. My question is with regards to the Glendon Road property. I'd already spoken to Mr. Williams about this, so he knows what my questions are going to be. With regards to the Glendon Road property, My concern is with, just by name, the Burke-Mortal farm and the effect on a fairly unique agricultural operation. What considerations or what concessions can we put in place to ensure that that turkey operation isn't affected in any way? Mr. Williams?
Thank you to the mayor and members of council. I will note that WSP is here as well and can assist with some of the questions that you might have as you're going through. They can also provide any sort of summary on the change map that's shown in front of you. But to answer the question, there is a special policy that was added as part of the official plan and as part of the consultation with Mr. Burke-Mortal, and after hearing some details about the turkeys that he raises, some of the certifications and alike, a special policy provision policy was added to this official plan amendment that recognizes the need for additional consideration of that agricultural use when M1 is being developed, or we'll call it redeveloped, I guess. And that special policy would then inform a subdivision or rezoning in the future. And this is a little bit different than if this just comes into the settlement boundary and then we do have some regard for the agricultural properties around the settlement boundary, but it doesn't have the same strength. So this additional special provision or special policy is designed to ensure that there's additional consideration given to this use. So that would mean that if, say, I or any other members of staff or council changes, this policy would live on beyond that, and there would be a need for that consultation to continue to occur with Mr. Burke-Mortal.
Thank you. Councillor Keppel, you had your hand up.
I did, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
I have a few things to say, but I'm going to hold off on some of them. But I just wanted to say, like, how frustrating this whole entire process is, from my view. Because, I mean, we started this many years ago, and we've gone back and forth, and it's come to us, and then we've, you know, it's gone back, and we haven't agreed on things, and it's gone back again. And I almost wonder, it seems to me that it's such a personal thing for so many people sitting around this horseshoe, and while it should be, it shouldn't be, because we all have an enormous amount of community involvement and respect within the community, like for the people that live and work in this community within the whole entire municipality. And when I may think certain areas are very important, and I think that they should be included or not be included for the reasons that I hold dear to me, Councillor Pelkman may not agree with me. And so, but what makes my decision more important than yours? And I just, sometimes I wonder if this is, we're here and we're gonna have to make decisions tonight. So this isn't, I'm not, all I'm saying is moving forward, I just think this is a really, not a great way to do this. I just don't think throwing it in the hands of people that have so many connections and so much involvement with, you know, members of the municipality, that, like, are we always thinking for the best interest as a whole going down 20, 30 years down the road? Or are we focusing certainly on just certain segments? So I am struggling with this a little bit, because there are certain things that I don't agree with in this. There are certain things that I wish were included in this, but I will talk to that later, not right now, shortly. But it's just been a very frustrating process for me, and I really do feel that moving forward, I think there's better ways to do this. I'm not here to tell you what they are at the moment, but this is my frustration. I'm just throwing it on the table, so, sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Wilsey.
Two questions, and I'll put them both out and they'll both go to Manager Williams. The first one is with the special policy area on the Glendon Drive property. If for some reason in the future the farm across isn't active, does that, and I realize the policy area is still going to be there. If that farm for some reason isn't active, then there's nothing to do with that, and that's not going to hinder it if that's not an active farm, is my first question. I just want to make sure we're not delaying it if something happens and there's no farm there and we don't need to consult with the non-active farm. The other question is based on the two delegations we had tonight, the reason for moving this up. After hearing either of those presentations, are there any of the arguments from those proponents that you could support if council asked you to do that?
Mr. Williams.
I love to talk and tell you my opinions all of the time, but in this particular case, I think it's best if that comes from WSP, because this is a recommendation from WSP, and so I want to give them an opportunity to speak to that, and I'm happy to fill in. To answer the first question, if there isn't a livestock operation adjacent, or there isn't agricultural operations that need to be considered adjacent to the property, then that policy would be considered addressed.
Thank you, Dave. Turn it over to you.
Thank you, Council, and good evening, everyone. I think in response to the second question about the delegations that we heard, I think the report in front of Council, the comment response matrix, I think spells out where our position is from a technical planning perspective on these items. Ultimately, we're in Council's hands on how to proceed from here. From our perspective, we're unable to really defend exceeding that amount of land that exceeds the county numbers. So it's something that would be, if Council's exploring other pathways, direction on how to achieve that would be beneficial. But from a technical perspective and from a planning perspective, and in consultation with municipal staff, both planning and engineering, and many of the conversations we've had over the years, particularly in Mount Bridges, speaking to the two delegations that we've had, there's a number of other principles and a number of other investments that we're considering within the community that have factored into the recommendation in front of you. But again, we're in Council's hands at this juncture.
Thank you. I'm going to try. I want to ask a question. This from Mr. Williams. This official plan amendment, it does get forwarded to the county council for ratification for approval. Am I correct on that?
You are correct.
Thank you. Councillor Peltman.
Yes, thank you. I wonder if you could explain in, I guess, everyday terms what the special agreement would mean for the agricultural property, and wouldn't the Slager's property fall within the same circle of space from the turkey barn? Two questions there.
Do not touch that. Thank you for the question. So in terms of the special policy area, really what it's saying is, as Mr. Williams spoke to, there's a number of other steps that need to happen on that property before any development occurs. Zoning, engineering, draft plan subdivision, and more if necessary. And so it's really providing guidance to those processes to say, maybe that's a suitable location for green space or park space, or how are you designing, buildings or orienting facilities, right? So say there's a community facility or a community amenity there, how are you providing that transition? I think what we heard through conversations and with Mr. Burkmore specifically was around really the coming of urban activity and urban nuisance, for lack of a better word, coming close to the farm. Really a lot of things that are dealt with through other bylaws, fireworks, noise, light. All of these things are dealt with through subdivision. And from our perspective, and in speaking to our agrologist who was part of those conversations, leaving it as sort of out of the boundary wouldn't necessarily solve for those things. You just kind of have a dead space that would be developed around. So it's by bringing it in, we're able to design it in a way that allows for that transition. And I don't have the map right in front of me, but I believe the portions of the property that we're recommending as M6 aren't impacted by the MDS arc.
And the Slager's property,
That's correct.
it would fall under the same issue?
I believe it touches a portion of the property, but not the portion that's being recommended for inclusion.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor McGuire.
So my concern is, actually, I could speak to both, but I'm going to speak about the Slager's property first. I look at their plans of subdivision that have already been drafted for their entire piece of property, and now we're looking at only giving part of that property in, which completely changes how all of that land is going to get used. And to go back to a statement I made before, and there's a question coming to WSP, to go back to a statement I made before, is that lands, or portions of that, have been planned for development long prior to me sitting here. Maybe Councillor Brennan and Councillor Belkman were here at that point in time, but those dead-end roads back there are supposed to lead to some sort of subdivision. So I'm generally not in favor of reducing the Slager's property, because now, again, we're not giving a big enough piece of property to develop to the benefit of the community. So why, and here's my question to you. So why the division of the Slager's property, other than hitting these targets of only so much land going in?
To the Deputy Mayor, I think what I would say is, again, two factors, as you touched on, the amount of land that's required in Mount Bridges. There's, from our perspective, only a certain amount that we can defend based on the county numbers. I'd say part two for this one was recognizing that there is the aggregate license adjacent on the adjacent property. Recognize there's been some updates shared on that, but the license, at least as of the other week when we were discussing it, was still an active license, and so there are setback provisions and buffers around that, and so we really saw this as a way to address and be responsive to the council motion from the public meeting to begin bringing those lands in, to provide some lands that can begin to be developed incrementally over time, and that ultimately that this process is not not a one and done, right? That municipalities regularly undertake these exercises 5 or 10 year intervals to make sure that they have the most appropriate amount of land for the need in their community at the time. And so really us taking a look at those lands was driven, precipitated from the council motion, and we took our cues from all of the direction that was provided at the public meeting.
So, thank you, I appreciate that. So to follow that up then, I want to make a motion that the Slager's land be considered for inclusion into the urban boundary of the Mount Bridges area in its entirety.
Do you have a second there?
I don't know.
I have a clarifying question.
Yep, you're gonna second it. You want to? Okay, go ahead. That'll affect your. Are you seconding, Councillor Gripshire? Okay. So go ahead, Councillor Wilsey.
My question is to the motion. When you say entirety, there was two things in this motion. There was the L shape that went halfway up to Troops that showed that subdivision plan, and there was the one that just squared off with the existing boundary. Which are you referring to?
The squaring off of the existing.
So even with where the commercial is all the way through from Glendon to Park House, essentially is what you're proposing. So that straight line.
I just got to pull up the map again.
We'll make it bigger here for you. Oh, Tim has it? Can you make that portion bigger for us? Sure, I can. Just on Mount Bridges.
You're thinking just from M2, just straight across to Park House? Not extending along the railroad tracks towards Troops Road?
Well, no, it would be that
Its entirety.
That entire piece, because I think their stormwater management pond is in that yellow area up against the train tracks, and that's what they're trying to incorporate into their whole plan of subdivision. So I guess it would be that big L shape as you referenced it. So hard because they don't, within the reports, we get bits and pieces of previous plans, but not all the stuff that we've ever seen. So I'm trying to overlay things on top of maps that don't look like previous maps.
Anthony's thing.
Councilor Hippel, do you have a question?
It's this one here you want, Mike.
Yes.
Yes, that's the one, thank you, that's the one, thank you. That's the one I wanted to reference and what I was looking for. Thank you. The colored one, the colorful one.
Right there.
That one there.
Okay. Councilor Hippel.
So, before the deputy mayor threw that motion out there, I wanted to talk to the Falcon Bridge Drive, 8524. So I don't know if they're, because I want to include that also. I really think that that's really important, and I don't know, since you already have a motion on the floor, if there is a way that we could amend it, but I would like to add in 8524 Falcon Bridge Drive, because I truly believe that the project team's response on it was missing an awful lot of important information for what we believe is where we should be going in the next 20 years. And we are really focused on making sure that we keep agricultural parcels in check and keeping our specialty crops areas in check. And this has nothing to do with the Falcon Bridge piece of land, so I would like to put that in. I'm not sure how we could
We
put
accept
that.
that, or we just vote on your
Well, it's up to you, your worship. That would have been my next motion, is to include the parent, what I'll refer to as the parent property, but if council wants to do it as two separate motions or as one motion, I'm in favor of putting in both of those. This Slager's property that was just up there all colorful, and the Patty Perrin motion, so.
Okay, you want to ask for a friendly amendment, Councilor?
Yes.
You accept the friendly amendment?
I do.
Councilor Derbyshire, you were the second. Do you accept the friendly amendment?
What are we amending to put
To
into
include the Perrin property.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay. Any questions regarding the second motion? Sorry, Councilor Brennan, go ahead.
I understand what's going on, but there's been a very long process. There was a great deal of discussion about the number of acres that we're going to apportion to Strathroy versus Mount Bridges in terms of what was required for this boundary expansion. And there was a number set for, there was a global number set for the total number of acres, and then some acres were assigned to Strathroy and some were assigned to Mount Bridges. Fine, and I forget what those numbers are at the moment exactly, and someone can remind me. But the number of acres we had assigned to Mount Bridges, by these two motions, we'll be adding to that, I suppose. And I'm just wondering, what are those numbers? We had a global number for how much we wanted to expand for all of our urban boundary. We assigned it between the two communities. We had the Mount Bridges number, fine. So there's Mount Bridges number, I forget how many acres that was. I'd just like us to remind ourselves, what was that number? And when we make these two amendments, what does that number expand to? And then my question would then be to the planner, what ramifications does that have on this whole process? Because we seem to be, at this moment, this late moment, after we've done a lot of work deciding how many acres we should have for boundary expansion, to now be adding. And I just don't know if I know those numbers right now. And we talked a lot of numbers, and now we're not talking numbers. We're just talking about pieces of property that people have come to us and said they'd like to have that included. So I don't know if I can make a decision if I don't have reference to those kinds of numbers that we've been basing our decisions on.
So there was a question asked the planner about the numbers. We'll get to you, right?
Yeah, so that's my question is like, how much does this add? And I know he's on the spot because, we don't know.
The direct question is, by adding this, how many extra acres are we adding to?
The Mount Bridges, and from the number that we have currently to what the new number would be. I'm just wondering, I just like to know what that number is before I vote on the motion.
We got a question there, Councilor.
Whatever, sure.
Nope. Were you able to answer that?
So we'll need a minute to just do the math on that.
Yeah.
I would just say, just in terms of process and what that number is, This official plan amendment gets brought to the county for approval, for final approval, based on the county official plan, based on the provincial policy, planning statement, that provides the planning direction for the planning horizon, how much land, and how to undertake a process of this nature. So, again, we're in council's hands, but after a decision today, it'll go to the county and they can ultimately, amend or modify the decision that would come forward.
Thank you. Councilor Bouchard, did you have a number there, Councilor?
Well, my number was actually going to be to remove M6 and put in the rest of the Sleeker piece and the Falconbridge. And if we need more acres to make up the difference, throw Tobacco Road in there. M6 butts right up to industrial. It's beside the Cookie King. I don't know. To me, the other two pieces, if we can definitely build beside it, there's no real restrictions. And if we're looking at Mount Bridges only has a certain number of acres, then if we can give and take acres, then I think that's how we did it, if we add and subtract, so.
Go ahead, yep, it's your motion, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
Then Councilor Falconer is.
Just from my point of view with the motion, I don't know that we've actually ever agreed as council on the numbers. They've been presented by WSP, they've done their work, they've come up and they said, here's the numbers, and we've kept receiving those in reports, but we've, as far as I remember, we've never made a motion where we said, we accept those numbers. Either way, my thing is, I don't like the idea of piecemealing this together, particularly on the Sleggers property where they can't develop it in the manner that most makes sense for the community. So if we exceed the number, I'm fine with that. And if the government ahead of us, either at the either a county or at the province, isn't fine with it, then I guess we'll see it again. But like you said, Councillor Hippel, we've been at this so long and we're still not, we're gonna piecemeal a piece of property in where they still can't develop it the way the actual plan is. Only half of it could get developed. So what are we giving up? The open space, the parkland, the wastewater? It makes no sense how we're doing this. Just put it in and let's be done.
Did you want to speak to it?
To Councillor Derbyshire, just in terms of M6, those lands have been removed. It's been renumbered, or M6 has been reassigned to the Slagers property. So to achieve the portion of Slagers property that is shown here, as well as some of the other changes to the plan, there was a council motion at the public meeting to reassess what was formerly M6, sort of that blue triangle. That's been removed. That's no longer part of the recommendation. That would stay outside of the boundary, and that's already been reassigned to the to 751 Thomas Street. So I just want to make that point of clarification.
Councilor Canis.
I guess I'm going to go back to the beginning. I've been really quiet on this process because I really don't like the whole thing. I think we're put in a position where we decide generational wealth for people. And I frankly don't like it. And now we're taking property in and or suggesting property move in and taking others out. So we're taking others who had thought they won the lottery are now coming out of the lottery. And I may be, throwing out more than I should be saying, but I really don't like the process, and I think there has to be a better way. The province has to come up with a better process in the future, because I think putting it on, as Councillor Hippel had said earlier, putting it on councillors to decide who wins the lottery, I just find, just a terrible system. And so I mean, at this point, if you ask me how I'm going to vote for the recommendation from the consultant, because to me, I don't know how I can decide who goes in and who goes out. So that's it. That's it.
Sorry, Councillor Pelkman hasn't spoken.
I just want to clarify.
Okay, go and clarify that.
I'm not asking for anything to come out.
Okay.
My motion is to add.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Pelkman, then we'll bring it to a vote.
So I do have a question for either WSP or the county planner.
if we do consider adding a piece of property, do we need to provide some kind of planning justification with our motion? Or can we just say, we want to include this? And then I have a reasoning behind it.
Okay.
To the council, I would say we're in council's hands at this point, where staff's recommendation and the staff report is in front of you. So, much like the motions from the public meeting, it's in the political, it's in the horseshoe now.
All right, so the reason why I asked the question, and maybe this helps clarify this a little bit, is that when I'm looking at designing a community, out of all these parcels, the only one that actually has an existing roadwork connecting to it is the Slager's property. All the others do not have existing road structures going to it. And so you have to create that, which means you're probably having either a sole exit onto a highway or maybe two if you can do it. So from a building the community, adding the Slager's property actually makes the most sense because it already has existing streets heading right to it. In terms of the parent property, to me, that's just let's give legal reference to what's actually happening there today. It is a residential area, and so that's just included in the boundary so they can do whatever they wanted to. I know they wanted to put some extra estate lots on there, and we are supposed to provide housing types of all types, so let's let them do it, and because it's never going to be farmed, and the only way we can get anybody to do anything with it is to include it in the urban boundary.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, I'll bring it to a vote. So you have the motion in front of you, the original motion with the amendment to add the Slager property and the parent property. All in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? 2, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. Appreciate it.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, just gonna check on the bottom.
We only voted on Mike's motion, we didn't vote on anything else yet.
Yeah, just get there. You get there. That's what I'm talking to the clerk about.
I was thinking it was my electric personality.
Okay.
I thought you weren't gonna get to speak the rest of the night.
Okay. Mr. Williams, this is a question for you regarding the bylaw. So the question from the clerk is, do you need the bylaw brought forward to the bylaw section of the agenda for consideration and approvals this evening? Because it's been changed. Or do you need that to come back?
We'll need to bring it to the following meeting just so that we can prepare the proper schedules to reflect what was added to those schedules as of today.
Thank you. Do you need a motion to defer that? So the motion to defer the bylaw number 7126 be deferred to the next council session. Someone bring that motion through.
I'll make the motion, but a question, I mean, like, what happens to, like, two changes were approved, what happens to all the rest of it?
I thought that was part of the original motion with amendments, correct?
Well, that was never voted on, if that,
I thought he brought amendment to it. Am I correct? That you amended it when you brought your motion? We'll bring it to a vote then.
I thought.
Redraft the motion, maybe?
Yeah, I thought
We received it, you received.
we received it, and then we asked for an official plan amendment.
yeah, but there was no vote on.
Oh, okay.
on-
Okay, I thought it was, Counselor, I thought that was part of that he amended the original one, so that was,
So do you want it?
yeah, we'll vote on that. 'Cause-
Approve it as amended and then.
Approve as amended.
For the bylaw.
Yep. That the official plan amendment application as amended be approved and further that the bylaw be deferred to the next consideration of bylaws section of the agenda. Someone bring that motion.
I think that's all, there was already a motion, right? I think I made it,
So
and
there was a motion.
There was a motion by you, seconded by
Steve, I
Counselor
think,
Bell.
yeah.
It was to refer to the consideration, so instead of that, we're just amending the motion. So are you okay with that amendment?
As long as everything, I mean, for me, I voted against the last motion, so, I mean, I mean.
That's what I was trying to do.
Whatever, I mean, whatever makes this all work, but as far as I'm concerned, we just voted on the amendment. We didn't vote on the whole thing, so.
Okay, what motion do we need to receive WSP's report as amended?
So there was an original motion that was moved and seconded
To receive it.
to approve it.
Right.
And to refer the bylaw to consideration of bylaws. So that was not carried. Then the other motions were carried.
But we didn't.
So we never voted on
We
this.
never voted on
but
the
now-
original.
But now we need to change this motion. So if you're okay with just
For referring it,
to the next meeting.
the bylaw, that's
The
fine.
bylaw.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I agree to that.
Okay, so vote on to refer the bylaw to the next meeting. Correct? That's what we're voting on.
But everything else is,
Yes, with the amendments that were voted on.
And we're accepting the official plan amendment as amended?
Yes, as amended.
Do you need to defer?
Yeah, we're making a motion to defer. Deputy Mayor.
Defer to the next meeting.
Yeah, the consideration of.
never voted on the original motion yet.
That's right.
It's already moved and seconded.
Okay, read back the motion.
So the motion on the floor is that the official plan amendment application OPA 3-2026 be approved as amended, and further that bylaw number 71-26 be deferred to the next meeting.
That's right.
And that was voted on.
That was moved by Councillor Kennis and seconded by Councillor Peltman.
So we need just someone to bring the vote on.
Yes. So now we just vote.
No, we're just voting, that's what I'm trying to do, just a vote. So all in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any, motion carries.
So that puts in WSP and the two amendments that we made.
Yes, that's the understanding.
Bylaw we'll see next time.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's what we're getting to. Okay. First public meeting, motion to open the public meeting. This public meeting is to consider an application for zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 9334 Glendon Drive, Mount Bridges, be open. Someone bring the motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is a zoning bylaw amendment that's associated with a rezoning application, or sorry, a consent application that was previously heard and approved by the Committee of Adjustment. One of the conditions of that approval was for the applicants to make this rezoning application, and the zoning bylaw is also on tonight's agenda. The report speaks to the details of the rezoning and the justification behind it. Staff are recommending approval given the consent application has been approved. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any comments, inquiries by members of the public. Well, there's somebody online, okay? Sandy, I believe you're there to speak to the application.
Yes, good evening, thank you. I appreciate staff's report to council on this matter, and I agree with the staff report. I won't take up more of your time overriding what the staff report goes into, and to respectfully ask that council approve the zoning bylaw amendments. And I'm here for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any comments and questions from members of council? Motion to close the public meeting. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Derbyshire. All in favor? Motion carries. The motions are that report BBP-2026-66 regarding rezoning application ZBA 17-2026 be approved, and further that bylaw number 67-26 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for consideration and approval. Councillor Hippel, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Ms. Williams. There are two minutes in front of you for approval this evening, regular council meeting minutes of July 6th and the special council meeting minutes of June 24th. Someone to bring the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kennis. Any questions about the minutes? If not, all in favor, motion carries. Consent agenda. Are there any that anybody wishes to pull for discussion? Deputy Mayor.
10.22, 137 Frank Street.
Okay. Any others? See none, motion to receive all the other remainder for information. Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Wilsey, all in favor, motion carries. Deputy Mayor, 10.2.2.
Thank you. Try to make this quick. I have a motion, it's a two-part motion that I'll make in a moment. Just the history to this, 137 Frank, we've been talking about for quite a while. This motion, just so you know, also incorporates a little bit of wording out of, one second, I'm just looking down it's later on in the agenda. Oh, there it is, 12.2.1. So there's another report on 137 Frank down there. I'm sure everybody has already seen it. So if you were to look at that 12.2.1, you would have seen some pictures about the interior and you know, how the big room is going to get used, and it could possibly have you know, people exercising in it or children playing in it or whatever. Of course, the 12.2.2 report has quite a bit to do with the exterior. About $200,000 being sought, or not being sought, but being updated for expenditures on this, and the report is lengthy about all the stuff that needs to happen. I've had a conversation both with the mayor, the CAO, and also Director Littleborn, who's managing the project, brought some concerns forward. They're aware of this motion, and we've discussed it. The idea is to build this back into a project, so here's my motion that I would like to bring forth, that we direct staff to engage with the architect and report back to council, and I think the motion will appear up on the board, or if you want to show the two pictures, it doesn't matter which one you want to show first. I've provided these motions to the clerk prior so that it's easier for everybody to see. So she's pulling that up again. The idea is that we're just going to develop a project. It's going to include the entire building, work itself into some high-level costing, probably end up working back into a stage 3 costing, and really bring this to a project that will continue on. I will say that nothing in my motion will interfere with the previous motion I made about phase 1, which has the service delivery people, or customer service, sorry, going down to 137 Frank Street, and that is now well on its way, and it's an operationalized project, and that falls over to the CAO to implement as he wants. One of the things I would like to see, and I just grabbed these quickly off of 2 reports that I had seen both at MLPS meeting and then it went to county meeting. And the top is what the paramedics building on, I'm not sure if that's Trossachs or that's Waterloo Street. So that's what it started with, and then they've redesigned it to look, and those aren't totally completed, I don't think, but you can see how they've taken a building and they've put a new facade on it. And they brought it from 1970 red brick up to, you know, something more recent in design. Down here we have a building that had its last major facelift sometime back in the 70s with angel stone that needs a little bit of work. What I'd like to do is bring, if you want to put up the motion there, there's just other pictures about MLPS buildings, and again you can see a red brick, dark looking building into something much newer. I don't know that that's what they would recommend, but this is the type of stuff I would like our architect to come back and say, well, here's a building and this is what we did with it, and here's another one. So here's my motion. Staff engage with the architect and report back to council with, number 1, updated exterior facade concepts, including recommendations respecting exterior entrance locations, doors, windows, and cladding, while ensuring full compliance with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act, the AODA. And number 2, recommended interior concepts for the large gymnasium and kitchen area, which were not included in phase 1, and that the remaining interior rooms identified in phase 1 be considered per report 12.2.1 of this agenda. Just meaning we have that other report, and that's going to deal with those 2 larger, or well, medium-sized room in what I'll call the original part of that building, where the old brick facade is. In drafting this, I did ask Director Littleborn, like if he had heard anything from A-Link about what they thought of that yellow brick, because it does need some pointing and a little bit of work. I know he consulted with them, and the information I received back is that A-Link, Mike Holt from A-Link, would recommend strongly that we keep that yellow brick facade. It's historical in nature, so any redesign of an exterior facade would keep that yellow brick there. But everything else on the exterior, I would just like to see 2 or 3 concepts. Give me pictures about buildings, Mr. Holt, that you've done recently, what it looks like, and then show me and then bring that back to council for consideration. And we can decide what we like and don't like out of it, and then have them go back and do the work and bring us a picture of our building with a new face on it. We're looking at about $200,000 worth of makeup that needs to be done, pointing of brick, stripping of paint off of areas that need to be repainted. And I think that's piecemealing it, and you're not going to get a nice building at the end of the day. I would rather see a project where council determines, well, the public gives us input, and like, what does this building need to look like in 2026? And that's going to stand there for the next 30 years and serve the community. Do the big windows in the gymnasium really serve a purpose? Do we need to make them smaller? That's just a cinder block wall, very easy to redesign, minimal costs. And get that project underway, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with that big room. That'll come back as a consideration for council, and nothing that we're doing is interfering with what we've already told them to do with customer service, and then of our consideration later on in this meeting in the 12.2.1 report, which would be those big rooms back there. So that's what I'd like to see happen. That's my motion, and I'd be looking for somebody to second that.
I'll second it. Any questions, concerns? Councillor Wilsey, then Councillor Palmer.
So with that, I like the idea of not piecemealing it. I was really against painting plywood and putting $200,000 worth of caulking on a building, especially when the report would still say that there's drainage issues that's going to cause the parging to crack again. It hasn't been addressed yet. There's issues with drainage from the roof with the internal eaves troughs, and there's issues with the roof and with pooling. So my question, would the deputy mayor, and in turn the mayor as a seconder, do a friendly amendment to that motion to also review the structural issues and the drainage issues with the site? I would hate to put $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million or whatever that number works out to be for a new facade and not address the drainage and the roof and the internal water issues that are well, the external water issues with the eaves troughs. There's other internal ones we'll talk about farther in the agenda. But I think if we're gonna spend this much money and make it a nice new building, we also need to include the cost to fix the drainage, fix the roof, and fix all the other water issues that are on the external.
If I may, in answer to that, I thought about that while drafting the motion and how far I wanted to go with the initial concept. If council wanted to add that at this point in time, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I didn't want to make the motion too convoluted or too specific that I can't get the vote, quite honestly. The idea of bringing concepts back is, what do you want on the outside? What do you want to put with doors? Do we need to move the side door on that big gymnasium, which is something that Director Littleborn had mentioned, well, if we were doing a brand new building or making a big change, I would do this. And it's like, well, add it in now. It's simple to do if we're going to put a new facade on it. That would obviously, in my thinking when that comes back and we start moving that concept forward, that has to include new drainage and all the repairs on the outside, because that's really what we're talking about. If you want to add it now, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but if council thought that was getting too specific at this stage, it's going to be addressed when those concepts come back to us and we design or accept the design phase of the building. And then the second part is really the usage of the interior and what that would look like. So there'd be more discussion to have anyway, either way.
My only follow-up was that'd be the cost for those repairs be included in any estimate that we get then. Maybe that's a way to do it.
So the idea here is to bring, sorry, Your Worship, I stepped.
No, go ahead, I'll just sit here and listen.
My idea right now, to really to gain favor with council, is let's get some pictures back in front of us where we pick and choose what it is we like and don't like. And then send it back, and now it has to come in with a high-level costing, and that high-level costing, like, so now they're gonna come back and say, well, here's what it's going to look like, the new face on your building, and now it has to go to a high-level costing about, are we into 2 million or 2.5 million, and we have to, we may change the whole grade out front of that building. I don't know. I really don't know what they want to do, but that definitely has to be dealt with. I would deal with it in the next step. Right now, I'm looking for concepts about what can we do on the exterior of this building to make it look good today and for the next 30 years, and what are we going to do with the interior of the building for usage so that the public knows what we're doing. Next step would be starting to get the design in place and dealing with all of the internals to make this a properly functioning building. Drainage.
I think Councilor Pelton has first, then you, Councilor Derbyshire.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to deal with more the actual functionality of the building and the experience that I had when I was on the board of the senior center. So in that large room, those windows do face southwest and act as very large magnifying glasses to heat up that room pretty darn quickly. And so when we, especially during the Eucharamas, when there was 120, 130 people in the room, they couldn't change the thermostat fast enough for it to keep up to the changing heat. So I am in favor of this motion primarily because I think those windows in the end probably need to be covered up. Plus there may be some privacy issues about if you're running exercise classes, do you want people being able to see from the outside? And the other is the door that enters into the gymnasium. What functionality that door is going to have from the parking area. So is it going to be exit only, or is it going to be an entrance? Because if it's going to be an entrance, it was a bottleneck when there were activities with higher numbers of people, and in the wintertime they're coming in with wet boots and clothes and coats that need to go somewhere. So if we could maybe, because I think that affects the design of the outside. If it's exit only, it can stay the way it is. If it's going to be used as an entrance, then it probably needs to change. And the rest, one of the issues that we always had with the pool room was that to access it, you had to go through the other room, which oftentimes there was something going on there. So I'm glad to see that the design that's being put forward for that solves that problem.
You commented, Councilor?
Just to comment back, all of those things were being discussed when I was speaking to the two directors and trying to see how this whole thing could work, and that's why it's worded. The first part is, the position of doors, door entrance locations and doors and windows. All of that was put in there so that I want a link to look at all of that, because I agree. Those great big windows, hard to heat, hard to cool, and probably too much glass allowing people sight lines inside. I think we need a vestibule coming into the building. Let them design it all and come back with a concept.
Sorry, Councilor Derbyshire.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. The first one is for the director. The money here that we have, the 165 and then the 28,000, is that what's coming off of the 500,000 that we put for the exterior to get watertight, for lack of a better way of putting it. This is where that money, this is essentially what you're showing us what we're gonna do with that money, which is my question.
So through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, so staff asked A-Link to do a review of the exterior of the building to do exactly that, make the building watertight. So flashing, repointing, brick repair, those type of items. So that 168, I want to say it was around 200,000 in total, was what that was that for. Now, there was an unknown cost to repair the drainage. There was talk about the garden bed being a challenge at that point, which removing the garden bed may resolve part of that drainage problem. They had some further investigation to do that, which would all be taken care of with the deputy mayor's motion.
So, do you have follow-up?
Well, I got, yeah, a few. What I'm trying to figure out here is, we said several months ago, 500,000, get it watertight. Why are we making a second motion to have it covered when we've already made that motion? We've already set that money aside. That motion's been made, been approved by council, money's been budgeted. It's in the budget, should be getting operationalized, right? So this project right here, where they're going and coming back and saying, here's the money we want to use out of the 500,000, that's all we should be doing. Is saying, yes, we set 500,000 aside, we did that. They presented us with a concept already once, 2.5 million to $5 million. You can have your thing up front, you can have this is what the building can look like for 2.5 to $5 million. It was at that meeting we said, whoa, slow your roll, 500,000 to get it watertight. Then the mayor, you put in your budget another 500,000. Those renovations, or whatever we're calling them, have already started. We have nothing like this that says, here's what we're doing. So we have no idea what that 500,000 is getting us. At least here now we know what watertight's going to get us. Like, do you see where we're just keep running over ourselves, approving more things? We don't even know what it's costing us. You're gonna ask for a facade of this or that. Why don't we figure out whether this place has a drainage issue? What's that gonna cost? What that looks like? Why are we not completing this as a whole project so that when it opens as a building that doesn't need to be renovated anymore? But instead, we're going to piecemeal this together and do things we shouldn't be doing. We're going to move into a house that still needs to be renovated. But at least now we're getting to see what the renovations are going to cost us, because we've already said we'll put this much money aside for the renovations. We're at least now seeing what renovations are going to cost us. We still have no idea what the interior renovations are going to cost us, even though we've said we'll put 500,000 towards it. So that would be my question is, for the money, the million we've already put towards this project, where are we at and what are we getting and what's been done for that? Before you move forward with any other concept of what the facade.
Answer that question. How much have we spent so far?
So through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, in the next report in the council agenda, the staff have identified that we've currently spent or will be spending about $300,000. We still have about $200,000 left. Those are approximate numbers to finish off the customer service and the interior of 137 Frank Street. The exterior is the number you just read this evening, 160, well, around $200,000, right? I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but so you have those numbers this evening. So you have in the report that we're speaking to right now is approximately $200,000 worth of work. The interior, we've spent approximately $300,000, and we still have $200,000 remaining. So that should answer your question.
One more follow-up.
One follow-up.
Has any of this exterior work been done at all to date? Or are you waiting for this all to be approved?
Yep. We have not, through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, the motion that Deputy Mayor provided back a few months ago now directed staff to, council approved the renovation of the interior for the customer service space, and directed, the second part of that motion was to direct staff to come back to council with a plan with regards to the exterior, and that's what we've asked A-Link to provide us with, to get us some numbers and the detailed work that needs to be done. So that's what was provided.
Deputy Mayor.
So, just, maybe I wasn't clear, sorry, maybe I wasn't clear enough, but this report, this 10.2.2 report for about $200,000, the idea is stand that down and let's get some concepts and ideas about the facade and then how we're going to work the rest. This is building the project that Councillor Derbyshire, is commenting. That's what I'm trying to do, is now pull all of this together in a design and a concept approved by council, do the high-level costing behind it, decide whether, how we're going to do it, how we're going to finance it, and then put the rest of that in play. That's really the intent of this. So the 200 in this report, most of that wouldn't need to be done. It would become part of council's concepts and approved concepts later on.
Okay. Any further questions? Go, sir, Councillor Palmer, then Councillor.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that, because that was my question. I mean, it does seem somewhat silly to be, putting lipstick on here when we might do a whole full makeover. So if we're not going to spend the 160 now, so we won't go ahead with that work, then I would agree. I'd like to see the whole concept and what that would cost, and then maybe we decide to scale it back or fit it within a budget. We'll have that opportunity later. But yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Derbyshire.
So we're not 6 months then from the last motion where we made to do this, which we weren't 6 months from the original motion where we said take 500,000 and get this thing watertight. Like, I don't understand. I realize you want to do this. They presented us $2.5 to $5 million. Every one of us sat here and went, woo, no, and voted for 500. Now you want to go back and find me a concept and how much it's going to work. It's going to be $2.5 to $5 million.
It could be.
It could be. They already presented that, for God's sakes. What do we get?
Okay, we got it. No, second. Councillor Wilsey, then I got to bring it to a vote.
This is just for clarity on the motion.
Yep.
Just to follow up on Councillor Palmer's question. The item we're talking about didn't have a motion attached to it. It was just an information that was in the consent agenda. There was no decision to council. The motion that's in front of us does not stop this from happening. It asks for additional. It doesn't say don't do this. So for clarity, are we not doing this or doing this? And I would like just clarity on the motion to find out if we are doing this or not, and then get it, if we're not doing it, we need to add it to the motion, because right now there's nothing saying don't do this. So if we're not doing this work, we need to add that to the motion.
Sorry, I think the CEO would like to chime in.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. If this motion of the Deputy Mayor passed, we would certainly pause all the facade work. I'm not sure that we need to pause the brickwork at the back that you said we were going to preserve. So I think we would proceed to get that repaired.
And
that,
if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that was my question to Director Littleborn as to what he thought A-Link would say about that, and that gone through A-Link and Mr. Littleborn, and back up to me where A-Link is saying, well, no, any design that they would recommend to us would include keeping that brick facade on the back of the building. So go ahead and point that and make sure the brick is in good shape, which I always agree with that before we have another freeze-thaw cycle. But that would kind of end that, and then the rest of this. And I'm hoping that we get some. I really want pictures. That's why I gave you pictures tonight. I want to see from A-Link stuff like that, and where the 9 at council here looks at it and says, I like that idea, I like a new vestibule, I like smaller windows, draw that up and show it to me, and start to develop that plan. And you know, you've seen it with Tri-Township. It really didn't take that long to get those concepts in place. And then we start putting money behind it, and now you're building a project. Even though it's already started, but now we're pulling it all together as a project, and everybody gets to see what it's gonna look like. That's what I'm trying to do.
All right, so we have a second motion. All in
So
favor?
can we vote on this? Did
That's
we?
what- that's what I'm doing.
But don't you have to do, we already, less than 6 months ago, we
Council,
voted.
We can vote, we have a seconded motion that's been presented, that's been seconded. We can vote on any motion. So we're voting on the motion presented by the deputy mayor.
But we've already made a motion to fix this thing twice. We've made a motion to fix. You're now gonna override that motion?
No, this is an additional motion, correct, deputy mayor?
We'll figure out what you're doing, because one says you don't need to do this, and if you don't need to do it, then you have to vote not to do it, because we already approved it.
We have a second motion. We're gonna vote on the second motion in front of you. All in favor of the motion? Opposed to any?
There's
Motion's up there.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Motion passes. Enforcement requirements, building and planning, dedication of public highway, Mogg Street and Hardy Drive. Recommendation of the bylaw before the consideration of bylaws, section of the agenda for approval. Someone to bring with deputy mayor. Second by Councillor Cass. All in favor? Motion carries. The Housing Accelerator Fund, the Affordable Housing RFP recommendation. 3 motions. The council awards a request for proposal with the intention to sell the lands for the affordable housing project at 273 Francis Street to 2209622 Ontario Inc. And further, the council directs staff to work with a successful proponent to include a wider range of affordable housing types, including the removal of some of the 1-bedroom bachelor units for the addition of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, with a minimum of 2 of each. And further, the council directs staff to continue with the preparation and negotiation of all agreements, bylaws, and other documents required in the RFP for the sale and disposition at 273 Francis Street. Someone to bring a motion. Councillor Kennis, someone to second the motion. I'll second the motion to get it on the floor. I'll start with a question. My question is this. Is it possible to have the company, the numbered company, work with other nonprofits and social agencies? So I don't know if it's for Jake or for Mr. Williams. Jake, is it possible to go back to the bidder and say, we want you to work with other nonprofits and social agencies to open this up to broaden it?
Yeah, definitely something we can talk to the proponent about. I would say if that's council's wish, we could include that in the motion, and then yeah, we can discuss with the successful proponent if they can include that, and I think it's a good idea.
And then the second question is, this isn't finalized, correct? It comes back to council because of the caveats in there, direct staff to work, so we're just asking you to go and talk to that company. Final decision would still to come back to council, correct?
That's right, yeah. So we'll have to do there's a couple agreements that we'll have to do that'll lock in the affordability piece. For the recommended proponent, it's 40 years. So there'll be an agreement that comes back to council with that piece for council to approve. And then there'll be the actual sale and disposition of the land that will come back to council too.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Pammer, then Councillor Derbyshire.
Yeah, just a couple of comments and then I have a question. First of all, really disappointed to see that we didn't get any not-for-profits even look at the bid or take the bid, because I went on bids or tenders. It didn't look like anybody had taken any. I'm not sure why that happened. When I did a quick search just recently, did a search of not-for-profit housing projects in municipalities, affordable housing projects in municipalities in southwestern Ontario, there are still lots being built by not-for-profit corporations that are 100% affordable. I was disappointed to see these come back with only 25% of the units affordable. I certainly would have liked to seen a lot more. I think that the whole reason we put this land's for was for affordable housing. I know we had a presentation not long ago, explaining to us, the dollars and cents of that for a for-profit company. But like I said, a quick search, I found probably 3 or 4 good examples of not-for-profits building 100% affordable housing. So I don't like either bid. They're not what I had hoped for. And so my question to you is, are we able to reject both bids and go back to tender?
Through the chair, it is an option. A couple things with that option. We have the Housing Accelerator Fund contribution agreement with CMHC. In that agreement, there's timelines for each initiative. Because we could potentially go into lame duck. If we did, we would not be meeting the timelines in that agreement with CMHC. Because we probably wouldn't be able to get this back to council until the new term if we go into lame duck. So that would be the next year. So the issue would be not meeting that requirement with the CMHC. But as far as the RFP goes, it's within our right to reject that. There wouldn't be any repercussions from the bidder's side.
Councilor Pamela.
Just to follow up, I would think that CMHC would have to have some leniency for us, considering if we were in a lame duck period, that we had done our best and we had put the RFP out again. I don't think they could hold our feet to the fire because we happened to land in a lame duck period. But we could, I guess you could always confirm that with them, correct?
They don't like bad publicity. Councilor, sorry, Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, we did run that by them already. We'd be looking at amending the agreement with CMHC. There wasn't a 100% confirmation if that was possible or not, because ultimately it's up to the minister. But it's something that they do occasionally. But that, by the sounds of it, we wouldn't be able to amend that agreement until next year, at the beginning of next year. And if it's not amended and we're not able to meet our timelines, then we run the risk of not receiving the remaining funding as part of this program.
Sorry, Councilor Bouchard, you were next, and I think Councilor Wilson.
Thank you. I just had a question about the motion. So we're going to accept their bid, and then we're going to ask to change it.
I just put it out there, Councilor Bouchard.
No, but
on the floor, right?
All I'm asking is, because we only had 2 bidders, and we're going to approve this one and then ask them to change it, would the other bidder not be included in, like if we went to them and said, well, maybe you take less money or this or that, like if you're picking a bid, you take the bid that's given to you. Otherwise, you go back out to RFP like Councillor is requesting and you make it better. Or you say, we want this much. But to me, it feels like if you pick them and then go and say, well, now change your actual bid to make it better for us or what we're thinking, you at least have to give both people that applied the same option, or nobody. You go back out, would be how I would, but that's probably a legal question.
Fair question. Somebody answer that?
Sorry. I can't answer that.
Okay.
That's what you're looking for.
It's a fair question about, you take a successful bidder, but you're going to go back and ask to modify it.
Yeah, I think the motion was, if we're recommending this one because they meet the affordability targets a lot better. The other one didn't meet them completely. And so we're asking them to modify it. If they can't modify, they can't meet this motion to include 2-3 bedrooms, then that's where we would come back to council and sort of restart that RFP process, go back to out for RFP if they can't meet this motion.
Sorry. No, I'm trying to go
just to follow up to that. But then you should give the other group the option to meet the affordability that they're not meeting. Like I understand what you're saying. This is what we'd like to see out of it, but what they proposed was this, what the other group proposed was this. The reason they're getting picked is because they proposed this, and now you're saying, let's change it.
Wait, I got Councillor Pelkman, I'm trying to go in order, Deputy Mayor, because he's been patient. Then I'll get over to Greg.
So thank you. So, I understand some people aren't happy with the bachelor units, but I actually was happy to see the bachelor units in there. So let's do some quick math, living in the real world of what people can make, okay? So if you're got a full-time job at minimum wage, which many people do, you're at 35 hours a week, you're bringing in $2,669 a month before taxes. So let's say you lose 25% of that in taxes. Okay, so now you're down to $1,900 a month, okay, after taxes. So if you're looking at the 2-bedroom units or the 1-bedroom units, you've already spent all your money without living. You haven't bought food and paid for a car. You haven't. So, like in my mind, when I'm talking affordable, the $690 options, the $823 options, to me are affordable. The $1,539 and $1,750 are not. They're going in the range of attainable for people who are making a minimum wage. Now, if you're retired and you're on OAS and CPP, you're only making about $1,600, $1,800 a month. So again, the $1,539 and $1,750 options are too much. So, and I think people have to reassess about what they're going to get. You know, you're talking about affordable housing. You're going to have to give something to get affordable. I'm sorry, but you're not going to have a 3-bedroom luxury space at bargain basement prices. If you need affordable, then you're going to get small. In terms of the not-for-profits, and originally, like, I do not like this process. I was afraid we were going to be in this position, that we put out an RFP, and now we got to make a decision on something that didn't really match what we were hoping to get, and giving away a very valuable asset in the process. However, if we do have to move forward, I think it's important to note that there are 2 community partners who have just, one has built affordable housing, which is Trillium, right? There were how many units at Trillium that were affordable? Does anybody know the centerpiece of that?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, sorry.
It was a chunk anyways. The Knights of Columbus are proposing an affordable housing unit at Columbus Estates. So those are 2 of the players in the community that already have sunk money into affordable housing in the past, that are doing it again now. So while maybe it's disappointing we didn't get one, that might be one of the reasons why. Again, I don't really like either one, but if we're going to have discussion about what our mixture of units are in, I'm telling you that $690 a month is golden if you have very little income.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, then I'll get to you, Greg.
Thank you. Councillor Pammer and Councillor Puckman both saying they don't like either of the proposals, and I myself, I'm not fussy on either, and I think it's, this project is of huge importance to the community. We hear from a number of citizens in the community how important it is to them. And so I think it's imperative that not only do we select the project, but we select and wait for the right project, because this is a significant input of capital from the community. And we're only going to get one chance to get this project right, and if you're not feeling the project's right, then I think we don't accept either, and we take another shot at it.
Yep. Councillor Wilson, can I just ask one question first? With regards to the procurement process. We went through the normal procurement process. We put it up on bids and tenders. are we not allowed an invitational RFP where we can reach out to other, like nonprofits, like the Indwells, London Middlesex Housing, and do an invitational RFP?
Through the chair to the chair, you can, yes, by all means, the procurement policy allows you to do invitational.
Thank you. Sorry, Greg, I just had to ask that. Go ahead, your floor is yours.
So, my comment was more just looking at the delays and the potential consequences of losing the half funding. When I look at this project and where we've put that money forward, if we don't have the right project, if we look at what we're discounting the land for, any CIP grants we're going to put out against that, development charge reduction, we're only getting $3 million out of this program. It's right around $3 million. And if we look at all the things that we're giving to this developer for this one project, it's about the same. So if we delay it and we don't get the right project and we don't get the $3 million of funding, we're not really that much farther out if we don't do the project, or if we find a project that doesn't cost us anything or costs us less. So if we delay this RFP and it doesn't go out till it comes back to next year, if we lose whatever's left of the half funding, we're still not behind. Because this project, if we approve either of those, is probably going to cost us close to $3 million total, which is what we got in half. And that's just my rough numbers, or they might not balance out exactly to that. But I don't see any downside to delaying the RFP to getting a project we actually like.
Councillor Kennison will bring it to a vote. I got a feeling the way this is going to go.
Unless I can convince otherwise. Because I'm on the other side. I actually was pleasantly surprised that we got 2 bids, because I didn't think we were going to get any. And both are from reputable groups, and it adds affordable units to the community. You know, we're putting land into it, and certainly the land has value, but it has sat there for more than a number of years I've been in Strathroy doing nothing. So that's the other thing. It's been sitting there. So I think it's not a bad proposal. I agree with Councillor Pelkman about the bachelor units, and that is a low cost unit that a lot of young people starting out will find manageable. And I like the idea of the mix. I mean, that was the intentional along the mix between affordable and market. I saw a news story about development in London where most of the developments are going that way, where you just don't have a development with affordable units. You have a mix so that you can really bring people together and the property together yeah, so I don't know what comes out of this. I would rather see it happen than not happen. And like I said, I think they're 2 reputable groups who know what they're doing. We've seen the names around a lot, and so I would vote in favor of the motion that is there. I may be the only one, but I will vote in favor.
Councillor Pelkman and Councillor Hippel.
Sorry, just one important point. I did speak to one of the neighbors on the weekend about what they thought about the proposal, and they were actually quite pleased with either one. And I think that's an important point too, because there are some people with some pretty nice homes across the street from this piece of property. So I think it's important for us to deliver something that at least does fit in. And they were happy, so while originally I was not going to support this, but I think I'm with Councillor Kennis that I'm happy to support the proposal as it is.
Councillor Hippel, then Councillor Brennan, and I think that everybody's had an opportunity.
You know what, I wasn't going to say anything, but I also, like Councillor Pelkman, spoke to 2 people in that neighborhood, because I was thinking to myself, going, I don't know if they've really had time to absorb everything that's been transpiring, and do they even understand what's transpiring, or do they just, have certain perspectives in their mind and questions that they haven't gotten answered. Same thing. I had some really great conversations, and they were very positive about it. And one of them actually said to me that they had some really horrifying experiences in their past about how awful it is to be in a situation where you can't afford housing. And I have spoken to several people that actually struggle with finding housing, and some of them are our age and some of them are younger, and not for lack of trying. They have jobs and good jobs, and they just are struggling. And I think we have to really realize here why we're doing this. It's really important. Think hard why we are doing this. This is extremely important. People need places to stay. People need homes. It needs to be affordable. This is super important moving forward for everyone. I just want everyone to remember that.
Councilor Brennan, then we'll bring it to a vote.
I'm reminded of a past council where we were voting on a Caradoc housing proposal for building a new building, and I think we came to the conclusion it was better to do something than nothing. And sometimes things are not perfect, and it's maybe not exactly what you want, but rather than have a field where nobody can live, we're going to have buildings where people can live. So I'll be voting in favor of the motion because I think it's better to do something rather than nothing.
Okay, I think everybody's had an opportunity to talk, so you have a second motion in front of you.
Did we have an answer on whether we can approve this and then
Yeah, I think
change the scope? Or
I think you did. You're talking about the addition of part two, right? Councilor, about direct staff work with them. I think we can do whatever we want. It's our, there's no legal, am I correct, either Director Dakin, there's no legal impediment to us changing anything with successful bidder.
Again, I'm not a lawyer, but you, council has a right to negotiate with, and I think that's even in the, just off the top of my head, I think that's even within the procurement process.
Yeah, Dave, I want to bring you up.
No, my only point to that is, then they are our bidder. We cannot not go forward with them.
No, we cannot, we can decide not to go with them, right? We can do whatever we want as council. There's no legal impediment to saying no to this overall or negotiate, am I correct?
Can I ask for amendment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would ask for an amendment that we remove paragraph number 2, because I am happy with the mix of units that are in that proposal.
And who brought that? Who brought the?
It was me.
Councilor Kennis. And I second it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yep.
Okay. I'll go along with that too, if you're okay with the mix. Okay, so all in favor of the motion with the removal of?
So, just for clarity, we're awarding the RFP and going forward with it as presented, with no further negotiation.
No, if you go down to the very last, council directs staff to continue with the preparation and negotiation of all agreements and bylaws. The agreements come back to, I'm referring for clarity to the third paragraph. The council directs staff to continue with the preparation and negotiation of all agreements. All agreements come back to council before they're ratified, correct? We're sending you off to negotiate and come back with a final agreement for council to ratify. Am I correct on that? That's an important point.
Yeah, maybe I'll defer to the CAO because there might be some implications with lame duck there as far as the agreements go.
But it's my understanding, though, we're sending you away, that any final agreement, like anything we do, whether it's a road or a tender, comes back to council for ratification, correct, CAO?
As far as I understand, that's correct.
Yes. Okay.
Just on that, I mean, it's just the mix of units that we're dropping. That's,
yes.
Everything else that you were going to talk about is still there, so.
Yep. All in favor of the motions in front of you with the removal of section 2? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. We did 12.1.3, 12.1.4, the request to remove H holding zone for 145 Beach Street. Recommendation that the application for the move of the holding zone be approved. And further, that the bylaw be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for consideration. I'm going to bring a motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Kennis. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. I'm gonna need some direction on this one. I don't think we dealt with this, but 137 Frank Street, the interior phase. There are a number of recommendations in front of you. Someone to bring those, to bring a motion. Councillor Pellegrin. I'll second it just to get it on the floor. So I want to ask the Deputy Mayor, was that covered in your previous motion? So I just want to get it on
Yeah,
the
so
floor.
I mean, if you were to pass this motion, you're going backwards on the other one you just passed. That's why I didn't make this motion. I would have said that this, in my understanding, is allowing, or the concept of this was to allow the continuation of the 2 rooms in the old part of the building that are accessed from the old part of the building, back where the brickwork is. So my understanding of this report, after we discussed what we have just done with the motion I brought forward, would be that staff would be continuing with those 2 rooms. The white rooms, there's the phase 1 at the very top, that's the garage space, or Len's workshop, sorry. And then the room underneath that and the next room underneath that they can continue development of the interior of that, and they're going to point and fix the brickwork on the exterior of that, because that's that old brick that A-Link already said that they want to keep in any design for the change. But that's where that would stop. And then the rest of the big room, I'm not really sure about that office space. Director Littleborn can speak to that, but the big room and the phase 3 room are not to go ahead interior-wise, because chances are we're going to be doing work there and we're not going to fix the floor and then be doing work in that room, doing major exterior changes. So I don't know how all of that works.
Did you want to comment on it? I was just seeking clarity too, based on you.
Absolutely. Through the chair to council. In light of Deputy Mayor's motion on the first report, the large room would not be included in this motion. The only rooms that would be included in this motion would be the 2 rooms that the Deputy Mayor referred to in the older portion, if you follow my cursor, which jumps around a lot up there, as well as the washrooms right here. Okay? So there's only 3 spaces that we would be looking at with regards to this motion that's in front of you this evening now.
Okay. Councillor Palmer.
What's a display panel?
A TV, what you're looking at right there.
TV, okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Wilsey, then Councillor Derbyshire.
So when we approved this back in the spring, I asked the director just about heating and cooling. And he had said that we weren't doing the heating and cooling systems because they were too expensive right now. We didn't know what we were doing, and we would be heating for electric heat. Given the heat we've had, if we're doing all of this building, and the previous report said the boiler needed to be repaired because there was obvious signs of leakage from the pipes, so that the pipes are leaking inside the walls, and the roof has issues where there's pooling, and we're not sure if the roof's going to leak or not. And we're not doing all of the waterproofing to make the building watertight that we're doing anymore, but yet we're doing all sorts of work inside for drywall and flooring, and not doing the boilers. And I don't know what there is for air conditioning for the summer. We are doing electric heat for just the office space for the first part of phase 1. I'm interested in if we're doing electric heat for the whole building, if there's air conditioning. What are we doing with the building not watertight? And again, it seems like we're putting in flooring and stuff that we're just gonna have to take out again when we actually do fix the boilers and the lines and all of that stuff that was at end of life. So I'd like to hear a little bit about that, because that's not in this report, and I don't think there's any way we could fit that into the current amount of money that's allotted.
Can you comment on that, because I thought there was previous comments about the roof, about the water and the water. Go ahead.
Through the chair to council. All of the HVAC units have been assessed by our HVAC contractor. All of the HVAC units are up and operating, functioning appropriately. Will there need to be ongoing maintenance to those units? No different than any other unit that we have in the municipality. A condenser may go, a compressor may go, a contactor may go, but they're currently up and running. The building, when they do a building condition assessment, they've based all of this stuff on age of equipment, not necessarily how much time is left on the piece of equipment. The building has sat idle for 6 years. Many of those HVAC units have had minimal run times on them, so they're up and running and they're serviceable and they're functioning appropriately. The boilers have been also evaluated and repaired, as well as all of the piping. There is currently no water infiltration into the space. Doesn't mean there's not water infiltration getting in behind the yellow bricks, which causes the spalling and so on. But we currently do not have any water infiltration into the building. The roof has been assessed, and you would have seen in a previous report that staff identified that there may need to be, depending on what that evaluation comes back at, a new roof put on in the near future. But at this point, the roof is functioning and is operational appropriately. The rainwater leaders that were referenced earlier, the reason they want them to be scoped is because they go into the ground and they don't know where those rainwater leaders go to. Do they dump into the sewer, into storm sewers, or are they dumped right into the river? Right, because the river's right behind and the building is an old building. So they just want to find out, where they're going. If they're dumping into the river, they may want to be rerouted, or we just dump into surface drainage. Okay, so there's lots of things that will be looked at with regards to the deputy mayor's motion. But with regards to the water and the infiltration into the space, there currently is no active water infiltration.
Councillor Pammer.
I was going to make a comment that if it didn't leak on Saturday, it's probably watertight because there was leaks everywhere. It was crazy. But I also wonder if we could perhaps just a friendly amendment if we take out the resurfacing the hardwood floor in the large room, just for clarity. Let's just take that right under the motion. Would you be open to that amendment?
I didn't make the motion.
You made the motion.
You did, yep.
Yes, I will. We can amend that.
And I second, I'm okay with that. Any further discussion? Councillor Derbyshire.
Why don't you just throw 2.5 or something million at this thing and be done with it? Like, honestly, this is ridiculous. We're piecemealing this whole thing together at an alarming rate, trying to get it done by October, trying to fit it all in under $1 million so that it doesn't have to come back to get more money. When, just do it right. Like, just do it right. We're not doing this right, and we know it. Like, it's ridiculous. We have report upon report that says this, 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 and this. We just continue to move forward. Then just throw the amount of money that's needed, make it right, and do it right.
Thank you. We have a second motion with an amendment. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Engineering and Public Works, Regent Street Reconstruction Tender Award. Council award the Regent Street Reconstruction Project to JR Civil Infrastructure Limited for $697,815.09 plus HST, and an additional $90,000 plus HST for contingency for a total contract amount up to $787,815.09 plus HST funded from the Road Surface Infrastructure Improvement Program, the Road Needs Study Program, Stormwater Costs, Mount Bridges Wastewater Servicing, and Design and Construction and Water Reserve. Someone to bring a motion. Councillor Kennis, seconder. Deputy Mayor, I'm going to lead off. Do you want to clarify? I did see the email from Councillor Wilsey regarding the funding and the money from OSIF. I'd just like to clarify that. I think we owe that clarification.
Through the chair to council. So the original budget showed $390,000 coming out of OSIF funding, and that was based on the 24 opening or closing, balance. There was some additional projects put through in 2025 by the Director of Engineering back in 2025 that came out of that account and probably shouldn't have. Therefore, we had to reduce the OSA funding, and now the funding for this project is closer to what was budgeted as far as the taxation and the others go, but reduced from the OSA funding.
Thank you. Councillor Wilsey, was your question? Go ahead and just follow. I want to get it on the floor for you.
No, and the OSTA funding was good that we got the right numbers, and it's better to know actually what we're spending and right numbers coming from which accounts. In that same vein, I still have the question from that email remained about the water reserves. It says that it's not budgeted, but I remember back from the 2024 rate study, it was actually noted in that study that the EA that we're doing for Mount Bridges of 1.3 million was also not budgeted and came out of that. And the study also said that we're going to be using all of the water and wastewater reserves and going into debt. So for this not being budgeted, is this additional debt we're taking on? Are we pulling it out of another project? How are we paying for that other 157,000 because the water rates are currently over allocated? Just for clarity on how we're going to pay for it and what's going forward, because just not budgeted and approving it, I don't think is acceptable for a council report.
Director Dakin or Acting Director Easter.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey. So myself and the manager of environmental services, Greg Henderson, have reviewed the water reserves, and we understand that it wasn't budgeted for. We as you can see in the report, we put that. We were looking through your email inquiry about where is the reserves coming from, and this year alone, and please understand there has been some staff changes, so we're working off the recent water projects that we have. The savings alone on the hydrant program, and there's two other programs I can put in the email, it's just slipping my mind right now, but those alone will fund the 157,000 in reserve. So we have savings on those three projects alone from 2026 that will go into the reserve, and we'll be able to use those to fund this. So we don't have an issue with using the reserves fund from our review that we did.
As a follow-up to that, there was also 1.3 million for the EA that wasn't funded, and we haven't done the projects that have been in the capital budget for 2025 or 2026 on either water or wastewater. So is the savings that you found enough to cover the overages from the 2 years of capital projects we haven't done, plus the 1.3 million EA, plus this 157,000? So it's a lot more than just savings for this number. There's a whole bunch more that we haven't done, which does affect for whether we can afford this new budget.
So through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, so as you recall, during the water and wastewater rate study, it was pointed out that the water reserve is abundantly funded, and we were probably going to end up borrowing from the water reserve to pay for some wastewater. So sort of inter-reserve borrowing, which is part of our debt policy now. The other piece was, in that rate study, we hadn't included the 15 million that we just finished receiving from the province for one of those projects. So we basically, in fact, when we got that 15 million, put 15 million that is no longer coming out of that. So the director and the manager are bringing forward probably for 2027, re-looking at that wastewater study so that we can get those numbers. But so clearly there's 15 million that was actually in that water wastewater study that is no longer required to be paid because of the grant that we just received.
Thank you. Councillor Derbyshire.
Sorry, just for clarification on that grant, because we all got to see how it works. It's paid out over 4 years, and we have to meet the criteria all the way along to continue to receive that grant.
Not on the 15 million, that was just a straight grant. You're talking about the half.
Sorry, I think
the grant
Councillor Derbyshire, that grant was, I think you're talking about is a half
Yeah.
grant, which we get 4 pieces. The 15 million was the 15 million for the Strathroy wastewater treatment plant upgrades of 15 million that wasn't
There's criteria to meet though.
Yeah, yes, but it's based on the funding of that project, so it's progress payments.
No, but, so, sorry, that's just my point. We can say we got 15 million. If we don't meet the progress of the project, we only have the amount of money that we meet the progress of the project for. I understand they've said, here's 15 million, but if you don't meet those guidelines, you don't get it.
Through the chair, Councillor Derbyshire, the only way we wouldn't meet those deadlines is if we didn't do the project. Because we're paid, it's paid based on the project moving forward, which council's already agreed to moving forward with that project. And then as we make those payments, they would reimburse us those funds.
Okay, well, yeah, Councillor Peltman, we're getting off topic. Then Councillor
In my many years on council, we have never, ever had to give money back to either the province or the federal government for a project that has been delayed or whatever because of circumstances. As long as we're moving forward on the project, it's never been clawed back.
That's, sorry.
Okay, no. Councillor Canis.
I guess the other point is that we're selling water every month, right? So there's money coming in every month. So I'm not sure if you know off the top of your head, but what's the gross in the net on water sales on a monthly basis? Because that money's coming in. It's substantial, I would assume. So there's always money coming. It's not like we're only taking money out of the bank account. We're putting money back into it as well every month. Or I should say the residents are putting money into it.
Let's vote on this because we're starting to wander off the motion at hand. So you have a second motion in front of you to award the contract to KR. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. I do need to alert everybody, we're coming up to 2 hours. We'd normally take a break, but we're almost through. Is everybody okay with pushing through? Yeah. Continue to push through.
Push through.
The RFT award, the Sludge Lagoon Cleanup Services. The council award the RFP SC-2026-40, the Strathroy Sludge Lagoon Cleanout Westsec Incorporated at a unit rate of $82.06 per dry ton to a maximum contract value of $300,000, excluding HST, funded through the wastewater capital budget. Someone to bring the motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Pelkman. Any questions or concerns? Councillor Pelkman.
Just for my own clarification, is this taking sludge out of the ponds or out of the active aeration tank?
Through the chair to Councillor Pelkman, my understanding is it's taking out of the ponds.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Deputy Mayor, your county council report.
I closed my book, so I'll make it real quick. Governance and Administration Building is moving ahead nicely. We just awarded the tender for the new office equipment that's going in there. It's completely different space. Like the old furniture just wouldn't even fit into the new spaces. But that came in under budget by a couple $100,000, so that's always good. We're going to work with the OPP policing board to provide some clerking and finance assistance to that board. That's on a cost recovery basis. So Strathroy-Caradoc is not involved in that, of course. We have our own police service. But that's good that the county can help these local boards that work, on these projects. And that's about it. Thank you.
Do you mind if I piggyback on your report, Deputy Mayor, and just mention the council and the residents of the Ward 2 that County Council did agree to consider full signalization next year at the corner of Melbourne Road and Longwoods, which is, if you're a resident of Melbourne or that area, that's a big move. Councillor Hippel, announcement and inquiries.
Thank you. I just wanted to throw a big congratulations. There was a lot of us that attended the anniversary of the Royal Canadian Legion, 100th anniversary, while each Legion in each area perhaps hasn't been around for 100 years. We were able to celebrate the fact that the Royal Canadian Legion has been around for 100 years, and to thank all of the members, everyone in the communities that support their Legion and just, you know, volunteer their time and put all their effort in and, you know, make the world around them a better place. So, thank you. That's it for me.
Councillor Canis.
Nothing for me.
Councillor Wilson.
I've got two things. First thing is just a reminder that on grants, we have returned the NC 911 grant at least twice to the government and had to reapply and get that sent back to us during this term of council. So grants do get pulled back and then we have to reapply. But my second question is just staff. And I've sent this in ahead of time, so hopefully there's some prep for it. I'm just looking for an overview of the 2027 budget process. I see based on the town website that we have meetings starting next week on community coming back and engaging with the budget. I'd like to hear how the community responses from those open houses are going to be summarized and sent back to council for our deliberations, because that's what the website says is going to happen, because that's significantly different than the 2026 budget process. So I just want to know if there's going to be more meetings than the last budget, how we're going to do those meetings, and how council is going to get that input from the community, and then finally if council is actually going to get input on the mayor's budget this year.
So, again, yes, you are. There is, I don't know, can somebody put up the, I don't know if you have access to the schematic that was up on the municipal website that shows the normal year, you know, the process. I'm sorry, there is something up there, Greg, that, see if Melanie.
So through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, well, Melanie's putting up the processes on the website. Obviously, this is an election year, so the process would not necessarily follow as closely to this as it would on a normal year. So we have slated July 30th, so next Thursday in Melbourne, and then August the 6th in Mount Bridges, and then August the 20th in Strathroy here, open houses where it'll basically be presenting this budget process to members of the public, as well as working through some exercises as to where they would see, where they'd like to see council spending money. You know, sort of on a departmental basis, like do you want more money spent on infrastructure? So it's basically open house, getting some feedback on that, those three open houses. That will be correlated, and then once the new council is in place, so either late November, early December, there'd be a meeting set where that information would be disseminated to council, and council could have some input as to some of their thoughts around that same process. And then that would be used by the mayor at that stage to put together his budget. So as far as how many more meetings, I think what we're really adding for council is that extra sort of meeting to give some direction to the mayor as to some of their expectations as to what they're looking for, maybe even comment on some capital projects. And then the mayor would take that information and put it into the mayor's budget. And then we would sort of follow the normal process. Once the mayor tables that budget, there's a 30-day period where council reviews their amendments. So kind of very similar to what we did last year, where council would then put in writing any amendments they would like to see in that budget. That budget would then be, those amendments would be reviewed by the mayor. Mayor has obviously the ability to override if necessary, and then eventually, once that number is settled, it would fall into the budget adoption. So probably timeline, roughly, I would suspect that we'd be coming close to the February timeline of 2027 to pass the 27 budget. But in a normal, non-election year, that process would be completed by December of the given year. I don't know if that answers all of those questions, or?
I guess the main part of that it missed was how council is going to be able to talk about the community responses and get that back. Like, are we going to have a chance to go over that and talk about that and before the mayor does his budget, or we're only going to see these afterwards? That part really wasn't clear, because on the slide up there it says it happens in April.
Yeah, so you said this is.
And I realize that's not accurate.
Yeah,
It's election year, but.
Yeah, so what you're seeing is that basically there'd be the public consultation, and then council would have the input. If in a non-election year, obviously those meetings would take place in April, so that there would be a meeting after the open house. Those 3 open houses, there'd be a meeting with council where that information would be brought to council. Council would be the ability to talk about those things at that meeting, and then if they wanted another meeting, I guess, because really officially the Strong Mayor's budget timeline hasn't really kicked in at that point. And so this year throws a kind of a bigger wrench into it, because obviously we have to wait to see the election process, but council will have a meeting. I'm saying late November, early December, where they'll get the feedback from those open houses. We're waiting until after the election, because then there's some direction that can be provided from that meeting to the mayor.
So, Councilor Brad.
Well, can I ask something?
Nothing tonight.
Oh, sorry, no, we're doing inquiry.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
So we get to
I'll inquire about it then.
Yeah.
Just happy to note that I'm seeing equipment moving soil around on the corner of Queen Street and Carroll. That dirt's been sitting there for a long time, so hopefully that means that subdivider is moving forward.
Okay. Sorry, now Councilor Bashir.
Thank you, sorry. So as part of that inquiry, or that package there, because it's an election year, why are we going out and gathering information that obviously people are going to say, this is what I want, this is what we need, this is this? Why would we not wait until after October to ask those questions? It kind of feels like you're doing more gathering of information from people for an election campaign. Because this is an election year, we didn't do it last year, so why not start the next year? Like, it just, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like we're going out and being like, hey, what do you guys want for Christmas? Because Christmas is coming, and there's Santas are going to start making promises. Like, that's what it seems like. And then it's like, well, what do we do with this information? Well, we might wait and give it to you after the election. Well, who says that information doesn't get leaked before the election?
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire. So I think what we're trying to do is get as much of the budget process completed that can be done. Now, I've been talking to other treasurers in the province, and some are saying they're not starting until the new budget, new is in place. Others have already got a budget in place that is waiting for the new mayor or the existing mayor to be reelected, and then he will or she will move forward with it. We kind of took a split down the middle. We didn't want to make the process longer than it needed to be, because really, when you think about it, the inaugural meeting is in November. You'd have from November to basically February to complete a whole budget process, which we're saying should be about a year's process. You're going to do it in 3 months. So what we thought is, if we can get some of the information collected of just feedback that then would be provided to the mayor to add to his budget along with the council piece. So we're kind of trying to split the two fields, where don't do anything and just wait, and now you've got a four-month window to pull together a whole process, or do we do as much as we can that doesn't really augment the process too much, and have that waiting so that when the new council comes in place, there's an ability to sort of say, here's what's already, here's some information we've collected. Council deals with that information, and then that information is passed off to the mayor to put together the budget.
Thank you. Councillor Pammer.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Deputy Mayor.
Nothing, thank you.
Just one thing to follow up on Councillor Hippel's comments about the Legion. I did have opportunity to attend both. And, you know, when you think of the Legion, I thought of veterans from World War II, but I'm actually surprised by the number of younger veterans that are both here in Strathroy and Mount Bridges. There are a lot of that, especially here in Strathroy, young vets. And tomorrow night at 7 o'clock every week, they have a veterans ruck where they walk with their packs. They do 5K, and they go Alexander Park up through Rotary Park, come back, and I'm going to join them. But just want to make that comment. When you think about legions, you think of World War II, but there are a lot of Afghan and Somalia vets around. So with that, we'll go to consideration of bylaws. All the bylaws in front of you, with the exception of bylaw number 71-26, receive first, second, third, and final reading. Someone bring that motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? Motion carries. Next regular council meeting is Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Final motion, adjourn at 8:11 p.m. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? Motion carries. Here we go.